today we're talking about performance management, and in real estate there's a range of roles that need to be performance managed. So I'd like to ask Don Tepper, the CEO of the Real Estate Employees Federation. Don, is there a foundation for performance management?
In my opinion, yes, Emma, there is a foundation to performance management. Now, performance management is a huge subject.
It is a big subject.
Absolutely huge.
And I know we won't cover it all today, but I'm after your favourite tips.
Truckloads and truckloads of information on performance management. So we're only going to scratch the surface.
Absolutely.
And in answer to your question, is there a foundation to performance management? In my opinion, yes, there is. And it gets back to an earlier session that we did. And the foundation is a job description and a written employment agreement.
And clarity in both.
And yes, this is right. These two documents bring absolute clarity to the employee's role and what the employer expects of them. And it leaves nothing to chance. And it also brings absolute clarity to key result areas in the performance of the employee's duties. Or key result areas, of course, are sometimes referred to as key performance indicators, or KPIs is the acronym. And also, a job description links the employee's KPIs to the company's KPIs. Because some employers don't realise it's just as important for an employer to have KPIs. And of course, there must be a link between the employee's key performance indicators and the company's key performance indicators, that they're in sync and working together. Also, you need absolute clarity on procedures and processes to be followed in sales, property management, and admin staff.
And that's really important because you're portraying an image as a business.
Absolutely.
And you want that to be crystal clear. You want people to know people are working for a particular agency and they do particular things.
What the processes are, yes. Also, there must be absolute clarity on a safety management system for occupational health and safety. That is very important in modern business today, particularly with the legislation as the way it is. And of course, you need HR policies and procedures in place as well. Now, with all that in place, it is then very easy to track an employee's performance. Without those documents in place and those procedures and processes in place, it is very hard to track an employee's performance and to deal with any weaknesses that may be there, which is normally done through such avenues as mentoring, coaching, training, skill development. Because you would only use or resort to a warning as a last resort.
And it shouldn't come as a surprise, I guess.
And it shouldn't come as a surprise after the employee has been coached or trained or whatever's necessary. Now, assumptions by an employer are the biggest killer of performance management. And a lot of employers don't realise this. You know, they assume the employee knows their job. They assume the employee knows what to do, when to do it, and so forth. For example, assumptions may relate to the employer thinking the employee knows their job and knows what to do, or the employee knows what the employer wants. And this is why, you know, it's so important to have a detailed written job description.
Which, and detailed.
Which clarifies the role. A job description should be a living document. It shouldn't be tucked away in the bottom drawer somewhere. And a job description should be something that is referred to often and updated often. So in this way, and that word keeps coming back, clarity. Clarity for both parties.
Don, do you have any thoughts about performance appraisals that you can share with us?
Yes, I do. I think it's generally recognised now that the once infamous annual performance appraisal is outmoded. You know, where the employer and the employee sit down on an annual basis.
They all get, you know, worked up about it beforehand. And
Well, not only the employee gets worked up about it, it also places a lot of stress on the assessor.
yeah.
So
that's right.
both parties are under stress, and really at the end of the day, if you like to review the annual review, you'll see a lot of times it hasn't achieved much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that are talked about are stale.
Yeah. And something that might have been relevant to the business 12 months ago.
Is not relevant today.
So how
That's
do you
right.
think an employee's performance should be managed?
I think the best way is on an ongoing basis. As soon as an issue arises, it should be tackled in an informal manner.
Okay.
For example, a chat in the passage could be a performance appraisal, but it's informal, and I think a lot of the time an informal approach to managing performance is a better approach rather than making it all formal.
I guess it's also, you know, the employer sort of saying that they're noticing things as well. Perhaps it's, you know, someone that's continually coming back from lunch and they might happen to mention they called and were surprised they got so-and-so on the phone. It might just be enough to sort of jolt the conscience a bit.
Yes, and the fact that it's tackled straight away
It doesn't feel...
gives a clear message that it's not being condoned. As soon as the employee gets a message that something's condoned, you have reinforced that behaviour and it will undoubtedly continue.
And you tend to get this a bit as well, don't you? Sort of
You
people
do.
behind the scenes if they don't think it's been tackled. So yeah, that,
Oh yes, that's a very important point. I would banish the annual appraisal to the bin.
chuck it to the curb.
Chuck it to the curb. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of employers still do annual appraisals, but I really think the value of them is just not there. Know each employee and what intrinsically motivates them. Now, what will motivate you won't motivate me. And the only way an employee is going to find that out is on an individual basis.
Yeah.
By-
And it takes time too.
It absolutely takes time to know each employee. But if you don't, you'll find managing their performance very difficult. Because an employer managing an employee's performance is just like a parent trying to manage 4 children. They know each of their kids are different and respond to different stimuli and incentives. In other words, they can't treat their 4 kids all the same. And it's no different with the employees. You must know each employee and what intrinsically motivates them. An intrinsic motivator is something an employee does for the sake of doing it and not for a reward. They do it because they like doing it.
Yeah. And that's the best. You know, you see people's eyes light up when they're coming to work and enjoying what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Difference.
Know how each employee wants good performance recognised. And I think this is very important. For example, you may be at an all-staff meeting and you may single out a particular employee and say, "Great job, you did a fantastic job, Mary. I'm very pleased." Mary, unbeknownst to you, shrinks into a shell. She hates being recognised publicly.
I bet she's not a salesperson.
She's obviously not a salesperson. But know how each employee wants a good job recognised. You know, so you get a feel that they don't mind being singled out in a meeting and recognised for a good job, or they prefer you to walk up to them as an individual at their desk and say, "Great job, Mary, keep it up."
Yeah.
Now, if there's one thing to be remembered, Emma, by an employer, it's this. And if those who are watching this video only remember this, they will improve the culture of their office. A lazy, tardy and disruptive employee must be dealt with straight away. Because it affects the morale and motivation of the whole office. An employee who sees a lazy employee says, why isn't the boss doing something about that?
Yeah, they're not showing leadership.
Not showing leadership. Now, you know, there are reasons why the employer doesn't tackle it straight away. You know, they simply may not know how to, in which case they should seek advice. Give me a ring or whatever. But it is important where you do have inappropriate conduct in the office, it must be dealt with straight away for everybody's sake.
KPIs, how should you deal with them?
KPIs, in my opinion, is a very important but sometimes neglected area by employers. KPIs should always be dealt with in a collaborative way. It should always be through consultation. There must be mutual agreement and understanding between the employer and the particular employee. And you can only do this, you know, through talking about and discussing KPIs with each other. Because what's got to be clear on is the definition of each KPI and that you have a mutual understanding of that definition. KPIs must be realistic. They must be achievable and they must be measurable. And above all, mutually agreed.
John, we've been on a great journey over the IR path and I thank you for the level of advice you've offered to our students. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Tepper from the Real Estate Employees Federation. He can be contacted at REI House and I know as you move into being an employer, these are some of the services you will need. So we hope you've enjoyed this IR and HR series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma.